If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room, my friends. We've heard that said so many times, but the truth is that the more I experience getting around people that are at a higher level, the more I realize that it is absolutely true. There's a power of association and there's a power behind proximity, and it's more real now than ever. So, hey guys, Lucy Quinones, welcome to this special edition of Agents in the Trenches. That's right. You know, we come live on our podcast every Friday at around 1:30 in the afternoon. But today we have such a special guest that we had to bring this to everyone bright and early. So for those of you that are joining live, for those of you that are going to be watching us on replay right now, we are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Go share this with all your friends. Go tell everyone to come and join us, because today I have the pleasure of bringing to all of us, not just locally, but nationally, because as you know, Agents in the Trenches has gone national, a special guest who to me is really an honor to have him. Jeff Tumbarello is an experienced real estate broker. I mean, he's been in the industry for over 20 years. He has served our country. He has a military background. And of course, coming from the Marine Corps, I mean, you know, this is a man that is on point. He is an investment expertise. He is a thought leader. To me, he is a guru of the market in so many different areas, not just Southwest Florida. And of course, a community leader. And I am super happy to have him with us today. So stay tuned. You are going to be delighted with this conversation we're going to have. And to kick things off, I am bringing my running partner, as usual, John Collins from the Republic of Texas. Good morning, John. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning. It is gorgeous here. I'm watching the sun come up over the lake, and it is just absolutely wonderful.
Wow. That's so nice. And it is nice and cold in Florida, or cool. For me, it's cold, but for some people, it's cool. Yes.
Is it 60 degrees?
It's like, oh my goodness, I don't even know, but I'm cold. I'm a little cold bird all the time. But listen, we have a special guest. I want to kick things off. Did you hear the introduction? I mean, this is a man that is not just moving and shaking in this market. I mean, he has been a frontline leader for so many years. And he's the director of the Southwest Florida Real Estate Investors Association. I'm excited to hear what he's going to share with us about our net work is our net worth. What do you think about that?
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. Your network is gold.
Yes,
and,
it is.
You never know who you're going to meet through your network that's going to change your life. And so, yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that phrase. So.
Yes. So let's kick it off. I'm going to invite to the stage to be with us the one and only Jeff Tumbarello. Welcome, Jeff. How are you?
How you doing, Lucy?
It's so good to have you here. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I am honored to be able to say that you are part of my network. I consider you a friend, and everything that I shared about you, you know, especially that thought leader and community leader. Thank you for being that.
Thank you.
So take a couple of minutes and share with everyone a little bit about you.
Really not much. I mean, to be honest, from Florida, grew up in Stewart, did 4 years in the Marine Corps. Realized after they tried getting me blown up and shot in the Middle East that probably wasn't the best career path for me forever. Plus, I, like living with women instead of men. So that was always, if we got to travel, it was great, but it was a great part of my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It made some amazing, talk about a network, some amazing brothers doing that. Got out, wandered around a little bit, like most people do when they get out of the military. Eventually ended up in real estate, which was not, my family has owned bars and restaurants, so it was a little different for me. In real estate, started out as a mortgage broker, and one of the four guys I founded the Southwest Florida RIA with, Peter Collar, he tied up, we were all working, you remember this, Lucy, back in the day, we were all working off the HUD list. That's where you got all the good deals. And he tied up the whole HUD list to prevent a group from Miami from coming here that was really sophisticated. So he didn't want them to get any deals. And he had 5 houses sitting there that had equity that were pretty decent. And I really didn't know what I was doing, but I could do the math, and I realized there's an opportunity here. So I was part of a hard money lender at the time as well. And so I bought 5 in one transaction, flipped those 5. And in hindsight, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, not a clue what I was doing. I was reading a Black & Decker home repair book before estimates to really I had to have enough lingo to truly, I knew what needed to be done. I just didn't know the industry lingo. And if you don't know the industry lingo, the contractors tend to try and take advantage of you. So it got me through those 5 and then ended up flipping. Fast forward to November of 2003 was our first RIA meeting. We were always going to the clubs in Dayton, Broward, and wish we had one here. And so we started one, and God, it's 2025. I joke, I tell everybody now, we founded the RIA when I was in middle school. So, and we're currently, I own a company called, me and my wife, Steelbridge Realty. We also have an investment firm called Venture Investment Partners. We're doing business here and in Georgia. Had a couple land buying companies from 2020 to 2023. We probably flipped 450 pieces of land. So we had quite the operation when the market was super hot. Had 6 people on the phone, all kinds of stuff. So, we were primarily wholesaling then, but we did take down probably 30% of what we what we put under contract and closed on, and then resold most of it. But at some point in that, as you said, I'm good with math and stats. And I went to work for a private equity firm doing the analytics on, we were buying all the bad paper and a lot of the bad paper in Southwest Florida on the big commercial projects. And then I worked for a couple other funds helping them try and buy things, but they told me I was too pessimistic with my analysis. And so they couldn't buy. They basically said, I can't really use you because you're not helping me get deals done. And in actuality, I saved them from going bankrupt if they'd have paid what they wanted to pay for this package of notes. It was all the first homes, unfinished houses in Lehigh. And,
wow.
I remember when I sent the spreadsheet and the report to them in the end, because I always give them the data too. Here's the data. So if you think I'm wrong, tell me where I'm wrong because I want to know if I'm wrong. And I came up that they could pay 9% of the unpaid balance on the loans and make money. I'm like, and he's just like, and when he bid 10%. The Wall Street auction house deleted him off the list. I'll never forget it. So in hindsight, I saved him from buying 140 upside down houses in 2008, early 2008.
Oh, wow.
He would have, this man was very wealthy, so it was probably 5% of his net worth. But it was a private equity firm that was really more of a family office. But I'll never forget it. He was mad at me. So in hindsight, he sent me a card like a couple of years later. Thank you so much for being the only honest one in my room, is what he told me. So
wow. So hearing everything that you're sharing, well, first of all, I want to ask John, what do you think about all this? What an adventure Jeff has had in his career.
Well, I relate to a lot of what he said because I was dabbling in investment property back in the mid 2000s, before the big crash, and things have changed so much because back then we were buying property with options, and then you would you'd either pick up the option and pay it off or resell it. And the landscape today, because Jeff, you don't know, but I spent 20 years in the mortgage business. The option for investors today with being able to finance property is so much different than it was 20 years ago. There's so many
mortgage company from like 99 to 07 too. I was in that world for a while. I started out as a mortgage broker. The old prime days in the late 90s.
You have DSCR loans now, basically, that as long as the rent will cover the mortgage, they'll give you the loan. That is so easy for investors to now invest in property. I relate to a lot of what Jeff's talking about. That's what happens when you get old. You can relate to that.
It's not old, it's experienced. It's
Is
experience.
that what
I
it
have a lot
is?
of experience, Jeff, and so let's talk about this topic. Your network is your net worth. I think it's a trendy slogan statement, but it carries a lot of truth. It's really a wisdom nugget. Tell us a little bit what has that meant for you, Jeff, in your trajectory. Your network is your net worth. How have you seen that manifest? And share some stories of how that actually has come to manifest in your life and business.
Well, connections drive opportunities. So it's really important. If you don't, I always tell people, if you're in a rut, if stuff's not going the way you want it, you need to get out and talk to people. That is 100% the case, but you got to talk to the right people. Maybe going down to the local bar and the guy that sits in the chair every day, maybe that's not the connection you're looking for. But you need to get out and talk to people. Particularly, you need to get out and talk to people that are doing what you're doing or what you want to do or where you want to be. That's really, really important to do that. And it's that old phrase that you learned for friendships that different people have different phases of your life. Well, kind of business is like that too. You'll have people that'll every cycle, a lot of it changes over. For the real estate cycles kind of govern what we do. And I laugh because I always say at the end of the database, at the end of the cycle, call your database and see who's still left. So,
wow.
It's very, very appropriate, but there's a lot of business to be done in the world, but it's all, I'm big on analytics. I'm pretty good with the internet, but it still comes down to the best deals I've ever had were talking to another human being. Like we have a realtor in Georgia that she's brought us some of our projects up there, and she's amazing. And they don't do what I see. They've got the standard canned internet, but she knows the whole town where she lives. Mm-hmm. And people bring her deals, and then she brings deals to us. So it's a beautiful thing.
Wow. So I have a couple questions that I want to present to you on behalf of our audience. We've got people watching now and especially on replay. And obviously, we are agents in the trenches, which means, the real realities of what's happening day in and day out, right? Whether we are the ones producing or we're producing through our agents. I think for me, it's important to have my finger on the pulse of, what are the agents really going through? Because if the agents go through it, the team leaders are going through it with them. And if the team leaders are going through it with the agents, the brokers are going through it with the team leaders and the agents, right? So I want to kick it off with, why do you think agents stay stuck in a mediocre circle? Why do you think, you just said, you need to go talk to people, but you need to go talk to the right people. So it brings me back those memories of being at my office and watching the water cooler conversations take place, right? And as soon as I would walk by, because being the broker, the people would disperse, right? The conversation would stop. Or you knew immediately as you were approaching them, they were flipping the conversation. What causes, in your experience and your knowledge, right? Because you've done a lot of study of numbers, market, but I'm sure also people. What causes agents and people to get stuck in that mediocre circle?
Well, a lot of it is most agents don't know. The vast majority of the agents in the game right now are what I call quarter or a half cycle at best. They've never seen a full cycle. And then a lot of the team leaders and brokers haven't either. So wow. I was talking to an agent the other day that she's frustrated that, she's not making money like everybody was. It was pretty easy to make money for a few years. Anybody money. Now you've got to be, you got to know what you're doing.
Right.
That network is huge, but I kind of brought up to her, I'm like, your brokers in the real estate agent business, they're not in they've never been in the real estate business. So they don't really know because they've never done that. And it's not a shot at them because they're very successful. They have a ton of agents. They've got a great culture, but for what she's trying to do, there's nobody that's ever done it around her. And the other agents that have done it really, they collaborate some, but most people try and guard their secret sauce a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the agents, it's so, and how do you say this? The biggest mistake I see agents making when they're out trying to make connections, I watch it at the RIA. There's always, every couple months, we get that agent that's never been there, and they come to the meeting and they go through the room and they hand every person their business card.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having two in-depth conversations and figuring out what problem that person has that I can fix or be part of the fix, and it's definitely not a numbers game. You want quality. But I laugh. They go through and they hand everybody a card, and nobody calls and says, list this $1 million house for 700 grand. And then they never come back, which is okay. You know what I mean? It works for all of us because they don't understand. And I just think nobody's ever taught them that, it's what I call high quality conversations. You want to have a conversation with somebody where you connect, you figure out what everybody has something they're struggling with. Like right now, I need people to put on the phone. That's my biggest struggle is I'm retooling my land buying company, and all of my people are now graduated college and doing stuff. So I can't really use them. We flipped all them lots with basically UCF college kids that were servers.
Wow.
They could read the script, so it worked. So it worked perfectly. Actually, we did great. But everybody has one thing that they're struggling with that they can help with, and you need to find that person where you offer that value or can be part of that value instead of just like shotgunning it. Just handing everybody your business card and giving them a tagline. Really get to know people. Very important.
That is a mic drop moment. I want to reiterate that for everyone that is joining us, because there's people coming on, jumping on the live right now. You said something so powerful. You said, here's an agent that's stuck, that's not making money, that's frustrated. We all know how that feels, right? No one escapes. Like my mentor, Joe Interbartolo, would say, Lucy, no one escapes. Everybody goes through it. Some people learn from it. Other people just quit and leave. But you said to this agent, and I think this is so profound, your broker is in the agent business, not in the real estate business. Can you dissect the difference? Because I think agents need to understand. Because if we're talking about our network is our net worth, it begins with where we work. And not because we are getting together and singing Kumbaya and feeling the fuzzy wuzzies necessarily doesn't mean I'm in the right room. So
when you look at the business from way back in the day, what you described when the broker walked up, that was this initially was a broker centric business. The broker ran things. We have even the laws and even how the state of Florida holds people accountable. It's more of an agent centric business. It used to be if you made a mistake as a sales associate, your broker burnt and you got in trouble. Now it's flipped. The broker has to go to school and the agent burns.
Right.
So that's my joke. We have 15 agents right now. And I'm like, if you guys make me go to school, I'm going to make you drive me there and you better have coffee when you pick me up. Please don't make me go. I don't want to go to school.
Exactly.
But it used to be a broker centric business. It's now an agent centric business. Everybody caters to the agent, focuses to the agents. And so they go in this, it's really about recruiting and holding them. There's a lot of brokers that just haven't done it. I mean, they're really good at building an organization. They're basically recruiters to where have you went out and actually operated in the trenches. And maybe some did for a little bit. Some don't. Some, at some point you've got to phase out. The common thing is to be a non-competing broker. The joke is I will always be in the real estate business because I'm addicted to it. Once you're in real estate long enough, the economy's done with you other than real estate. My joke is you're a real estate person. So, the rest of the economy is no longer available to you. You're one of us. You're going to be one of us till the day you die. And we all tend to get addicted to it. And if you do it well, you can make a lot of money. So
I want to talk about that because, yes, I remember my mentor, Joe Interbartolo, and I'm sure you met Joe or knew Joe. I mean, he opened up the very first Century 21 office in Cape Coral back in the 1980s. And I remember in 17 speaking with him, and I told him, I said, listen, this is not the same business you got into. Like, this is not the same world that you got into. And so, the broker used to be in charge, but you know what? It's like, okay, be careful what you ask for, because the agent wanted to take over, especially when all these, different types of real estate models came out. And so the agents wanted to be in charge. Now, I do believe that the agents need to be in charge, but their mindset needs to shift. They're thinking like employees when they need to be thinking and acting like CEOs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that? How do you
are You Inc. You are Lucy Q Inc. every day. You are your own business. You build your own brand. How you approach it decides whether you succeed or not. A lot of the younger people, they just don't, and they're coming into, again, real estate's a very weird world. It's sort of upside down. Most of it, you couldn't take how we do a lot of things in real estate and go work for Visa. You know what I mean? It's just like that. So you have to understand it's sort of a weird business. Not really, though. You're just really about finding someone that needs help with something. Like my biggest thing with agents is we have knowledge we have to disclose to the public when we're working on our own. Okay. Mm-hmm. Work on your own. You have this knowledge, you have this network. For the love of God, do a couple deals for yourself. So I laugh. I love it. I'm at my best when I'm buying and selling, when I'm doing stuff, because I actually listen to me. So many of our customers just don't listen to us. They've got something in their head and that's what they do. I'm like, if I know I need to drop the price $5,000, I drop the price $5,000. I don't argue with me about it, because I know that's what I have to do. And it's different when you have a member of the public and you're doing business, basically on their behalf. And so you've got to take in their accounts. Sometimes they're like, I don't want to do that, even though it's the right thing to do. And that's what you got to do, because, they're your client. So, or customer, depending on your brokerage relationship. But it's a very weird business. And as a new agent, I always say, every person on this planet has some sort of differentiation. Okay. I can't roll my R's, Lucy. So for me to probably go to Venezuela and put together an investment group, while I may pull it off, the probability of success isn't the best. You know what I mean? I don't speak the language. I love the food. The culture is cool, but I don't know. I don't know what to say. There's certain things in certain cultures that if you say are really bad, some things you say they're really good. But, for differentiation on that's not what I do. Like, that's why I've always gravitated towards investing, because numbers are my thing. For me, it's the order within the chaos is numbers. So in investing, that's the highest and best use of an analytical mind is real estate investing in our sphere of work. I'll add.
What do you think, John? Any questions? Any thoughts?
No, I'm just sitting here taking it all in. I think a lot of realtors, a lot of new realtors put that name tag on and they think that's it. But I would encourage everybody, and Lucy, this, even as busy as you are, you still are learning and educating yourself every day. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's how we met, was at a training. Mm-hmm. And surround yourself with people that are going to inspire you, that have been down the road, that have experience, and that can teach you something. Being in business, and that's what you are. You're not really a real estate agent. You're a business owner, and you have to continue the training, and you have to expand your network, and you have to continue to learn in that industry. Otherwise, you're just dabbling in it. And so I think it's real important.
So I want to ask Jeff another question, because I think it's important that we dissect this. Again, we're talking about your network is your net worth, and what a better network to start with than your own office, the people you hang around with each day. For me, again, knowing that I can invite you to my podcast and you are more than happy to come and share your knowledge, right? And deposit your golden nuggets for others to learn from it. And you were saying something earlier, Jeff, about, people want to not share. They don't want to share their playbook. They don't want to share their secret sauce, when at the end of the day, it's like, no one's really reinventing the wheel. Some of us, you're better at math than I am, for sure, right? But then again, we all have something that makes us better than the next person. We have something. We all have something. We may not have everything, but we have something, right? So I want to ask you this question. What would you say are the three types of people we need to have in our network? Looking back in your years of knowledge trajectory, the good, the bad, the ugly, your ups, your downs, what are those three types of people that come to your mind that were a game changer because you were in their network or you made them part of your network?
I don't know about the three types, but I can tell you, seek out what you don't have. As far as I always tell everybody, for real estate, you've got four basic tools to invest. You've got time, you've got knowledge, you've got cash, and you've got credit. If you don't have all four of those, go find partners that have the other parts that you don't have. And I look at so many of these teams, particularly if we're going to, be agent focused. So many of these teams, they're all the same personality type, the same everything, the same, like me, we talk about it every RIA meeting. The other director, Mike Lyons, he spent a couple years in Mexico, and he speaks fluent Spanish. And looking at him, you would not think he speaks fluent Spanish, which according to him puts people in bad positions, because he'll be at the closing and the other side of the table's talking in Spanish, thinking he doesn't understand. And he understands every word they're saying, and then he lets them go for a couple minutes before he says hi. But you literally have to have people that are like, we talk about this every meeting. If you have an office and you don't have somebody that speaks Spanish in your office, you are missing out on a huge part of the market.
Yes.
There are so many different facets of humanity. Your team around you should reflect that, and more importantly, what you're not good at, that's what you should bring in on the team. Like, we just brought an agent in on me and my wife's kind of personal team, and she's very driven and she's very successful business owner. She's new into real estate, but she's very driven, and she's very good with people. Like, she doesn't waver, and people do not get her off her game. And like, we needed that because, I'm Irish. I have a temper, and I was a Marine. That's bad. We need people that can, you always need, like Mike and his company. Mike's role is, when somebody gets wound up, Mike never gets upset. So Mike is the person to talk to with that. You know what I mean? So figure out, we all know our strengths. The hard part's looking at your weaknesses, staring them in the face and grabbing them, because, if you want to scale, you've got to cover your weaknesses. Okay. That's so huge. But then something I read recently, that if you want to become great, you have to scale at what you're good at and actually find somebody to do what you like to do, which is harder even, to give that up. But figure your weaknesses out. Those are the people you need. If you're if you're just a single practitioner working one neighborhood, right, you could still use a team. You could use an assistant. You could use a lot of things. You could use a cold caller, but find somebody. Like, if you want to get into a neighborhood, go find somebody that knows the neighborhood. Pull them on the team. There's the bigger my organizations are, the more successful I am, I've found. The joke is, I should have at age 18 hired 1,000 people somehow. So I'd probably have the same amount of money as Elon, because all you do is you pull talent in, and then that talent works for your goal. It's so, when you look at like some of these companies, they're just full of talented people, and those talented people were part of the goal that the person that founded it, the CEO, could never do that work. So,
something that I'm thinking about, Lucy, too, is define your networks. We all have different networks that we have access to, and you need to identify those networks, and then you need to focus on them. I think what happens to a lot of people in business is they don't drill down to that niche or to that network group and work it. And so, for instance, Lucy, you have the academy. That's one of your networks. You go to a certain church. That's another network. Identify your networks and then work on expanding inside of those networks. Jeff has the group that he started for the investment group. That's a network for Jeff. So identify your networks and then work those networks.
That's really good. So, Jeff, tell me, you started
something out here too for agents, because there's a lot of people struggling, and I'm talking to a lot of them.
Yes.
The market. When's the last time you called? And I'm not. Don't call them up. Like I call everybody your warm market. The people that more importantly, past clients. I was talking to an agent, and I'm like, when's the last time you called your warm market? Well, do you even have your warm market, and do you have them in a database? And I'm not talking. You don't need to spam your aunt. You know what I mean? But you also, your aunt will refer you business. When's the last time you called her and said hi? And I always put the joke in. Look, when I sell real estate, I get money, and money buys food, and we all like to eat around here. So help me out. Make a joke out of it, or you don't have to. I'm not a big fan of the scripts of where you go call and anybody that's going to buy or sell a house in the next 15 minutes. Well, I would like to speak to them, and
right.
But so many agents are just, again, for this, not talking to people. I always say, print off everybody, put everybody in a database, not to spam them, not to put them on an auto drip, but for some sort of reminder every couple months to call them and ask them how they're doing. Right. And you will be shocked at how many people forget that you do this for a living, or they just, you get busy in your life. Like, do you remember that your cousin in Midland is an electrician all the time? No.
Out of sight, out of mind.
But then don't be that spammy, you know what I mean? Pick up the phone and, hey, how you doing? So, right. I mean, again, that goes back to the agent that goes and hands a card to every investor in the room, but doesn't meet one of them. You know what I mean? Just, it's all about what I call high-level conversations. You just need to have quality conversations with people. And then you were talking about, like, adding value. I call it the gift of obligation. I was actually taught me by one of my mentors. And when you teach somebody something that's valuable, they'll never forget it. And at points, they circle back to you. I can tell you, once a year, I get some sort of a home run deal from a RIA member that brings me and says, hey, will you joint venture this with me? And it's because when I was in front of the room, like, talking about the market or talking about investing, I shared something with them that was powerful. There's people that want to hide everything. If I gave everybody that watches this podcast my database, I probably wouldn't run into them, because we all have different lenses, different narratives of how we're going to attack things and how we approach things. Like, I assure you, Lucy, you and I would not go to the same place. We're definitely different people. So, but being afraid to share and acting like you've got some secret knowledge that the world, if it knew, it would ruin everything. Generally, everybody knows everything. Everything you could want that's accurate and inaccurate is on YouTube already. It's all out there. It's just really how you communicate with people and how you bond with people.
It's something, because who will you remember? Will you remember the person that protects all of their secret sauce, or will you remember the person that openly gives you all of their knowledge and all of their secrets and helps you? Who are you going to tell your friends about? I'm going to tell them about the person that is open and sharing everything they have. Think about it on the internet. It's on Facebook. Who the big people are that are out there, and they're just giving information, valuable information all the time, that they could keep it to themselves, but they don't. And next thing you know, somebody's typing in a comment this person's name, and that's just the way it works. The more you give, the more you get back.
Never fails.
It never fails.
So, Jeff, let's bring it back a little bit in the time that we have. We have 10 minutes left. What would you say is the number one reason agents don't go out and have those conversations, or don't pick up that phone to remind people, hey, by the way, how you doing? Just want to let you know I'm still in real estate, looking to help 50 families this year or in the next 12 months. It's like you've been around agents, you're hiring agents, you're talking to agents all the time. You just said something powerful. You said there's a lot of agents struggling, and I'm talking to a lot of them. What is their issue, in your opinion?
Well, ultimately, it's between their ears is the biggest issue. That's every one of us. If you get up in the morning and look in the mirror, you're looking at your biggest enemy.
Yeah.
Generally your biggest attractor as well. I just read a book about self-sabotage that was enlightening, and I realized that, I do it like everybody else. But what you're there to do is the most important thing. And most people don't know what they're there to do. You really have to, what am I here to do? And then get after it. Get after it and take action. And so many people, well, you do this and then you get distracted. And then, well, you watch this YouTube video and I'm going to try this week. Decide what exactly you're there to do in depth and get after it. So many people don't get after it. And that's where I almost took all the socials off my phone, because I've come to the conclusion I should be just creating content, not consuming any content. But 100%, I'm really ready to take everything off. Well, the Facebook app for marketing is 50 times better to do everything through your phone for ads than it is to do through a desktop.
Yes.
It's cumbersome on the desktop. So to where the phone, it's just more intuitive. It's easier to do. But you have, one of my agents just told me this. He goes, I took Facebook off my phone. So he can focus in, because he's developing something right now, because every once in a while, all of us got to go mad scientist too and try something.
Right.
So,
and that's really the truth. Business is no longer being done the way it was done in, years past. Like, customers are not walking into offices like they used to. Mm-hmm. Even the agents aren't going to the offices like they used to. The world of business has changed. And so that's another thing that I see. It's like people have not evolved, which actually gives everyone an equal opportunity, right? Because I'm sure you have had to level up in the last 5 years.
Every day you love. If you're not growing, you're dying.
That's true. I said that yesterday at the academy, because I decided to give it all away, Jeff. I didn't want to go back to being that traditional broker and, just doing what I had done for the previous 20 years. So I decided to rediscover, reinvent, redesign, and just relaunch. So I said, okay, so how do I give it all away? You said something very powerful. Don't go to a networking meeting and be vomiting your card or what you do or come by from me to everybody. It's like, really try to make that connection. Like with you. Last year I invited you to be at the Southwest Florida Real Estate Mastermind. Why? Because I admire you. I'm like, I want to get closer to Jeff. I want to learn, if I need him one day, I want to have made enough deposits that he will remember not just Lucy, but he will know more of Lucy. How do I get to know more of Jeff? By, knowing more of him. And then I said, if I'm going to bring anybody onto the podcast, why not Jeff? The world needs to know that you literally almost predicted the market crash. You just gave us a little very, superficial story. You saved someone like a gazillion.
I shared all the data work to our group, and I got a lot of resistance. Remember, I had a meeting and basically said, here's where the market's going. Here's the data. Here's some poly trend lines showing where pricing is going. This is what's happening. Either get in front of it, or if you're, I call it, if you're anti-fragile, it doesn't matter. Like, I've got my life to the point it doesn't matter. The market crashes, I'll be on my boat fishing. So, and the beauty is when the market
crashes, me, I'll come with you.
Well, when the market crashes is when you should be buying your rental properties, your investments, your holdings, you trade up your residence. I say if 08 happens again, I'll be on Matlacha Pass, and then you'll never hear or see from me again. But if you want to know where the fish are, call me. But it's really, the market's not that bad right now. It's really not. Historically, at this point in 2007, we had 1,800 foreclosures a month. We had 42 last month. in Lee County. You know what I mean? So it's not remotely the same cycle. Everybody wants to call it the last cycle. Every cycle is different in intensity and duration. And that's why you got to be nimble, and you got to have some information that you can use to make decisions. So
let's start closing out our podcast with that valuable information. You predicted based on your numbers. I mean, you put data. Yesterday we were talking about data. Data is the new currency. You just said something. I feel like you were at the academy yesterday, because I'm teaching people for 8 weeks lead generation, and everybody's still, lead mongering over, I want Zillow leads. No, you don't. You want any lead, because all leads are a seed. You just need to talk to people. You need to be in front of people. People need to know you exist. People need to remind you. Like I told Talia last year, I said, the only thing I don't want in 2025 is to continue to be the best kept secret. So whatever it takes, I will no longer be the best kept secret. And my people will show up. Jeff, you said something powerful. You said, no one's reinventing the wheel, or it doesn't matter if I gave my whole database away to everybody. It doesn't matter, because your people are your people. My people are my people. We don't have to be in competition. We could be in collaboration. But where is the market, and where is it going? I wanna squeeze your knowledge and hear what you have to say.
Funny part, the Southwest Florida RIA General Meeting, that's what I'm talking about next week, the demographics of what's driving. There's a couple charts that I've been using that we got out of the census data years ago. One of my mentors turned me on to it. We had coffee for 4 hours. He walked me through it. I took a copy of his work, went home, found all the data, replicated the whole report, and realized he was right, and said, oh my God, I need to pivot, or I'm not going to make it. And pivoted. But some of these charts, particularly the chart on retirees, which we track 62 years of age, are really the base driver of a lot of our market. There are young people buying houses, there are first-time home buyers, but in Southwest Florida, it's that retiree base that kind of drives a lot. It's funny, we've always referred to that as the boomer birth rate chart, but in 2 years, it becomes the Gen X birth rate chart, which kept me up all night that night when I realized that. So, but it's where the market's going. We're in kind of right now, market's in a decline. We're technically in a correction. Nobody wants to call it that. Mm-hmm. We're over 10% from the peak in pricing, which is a correction. If you get another 10%, that's a crash. So if the market goes down, say another 6%, you can actually check the crash box. Does that mean everybody's going to buy? No, because it's all about, herding, 2006, everybody stood in line to buy a house that was not an investment. It was an act of lunacy. They stood in line to buy these over-leveraged, poorly built homes that didn't even cash flow. And then in 2009, when they could buy the same house for $65,000 that rented for $750 a month, they wouldn't buy it. They tell you it's never going to be worth anything. And that is the opportunity to recognize that. The pendulum that swings really in the minds of society. And once you see that, it gets really simple. And I mean, it even, believe it or not, I watched some fashion things, and it's not that I'm a very fashionable guy, but that you can literally look at what's going on in the fashion world and see what the herd's mentality is. Is the herd happy? Is the herd sad? And they tend to react accordingly. So there's even a guy who has made a living. He'll chart skirt lengths in fashion and uses that to project it as the skirts go longer. That means bear market's coming. He literally part of his underwriting.
Wow. So in Southwest Florida, to break it down and make it really bite-sized, should people be selling their properties now? I mean, because there's people with a lot of equity. Or should people be holding on to their properties and waiting?
But that's a personal decision, okay? If you bought 28 houses in 2008 for $65,000 each, you should never, ever sell them. And I guess if they're fully depreciated, maybe. But you should never, ever sell them, because you're never going to replicate that investment. Yeah, you've got this cash, but what happens when we get cash?
We spend it.
So, the number one question for all those people are, what are you going to do with the money? What are you going to do? Are you going to buy a different house? Especially if, say, you've got a 2.5% interest rate, remodel, build something on, do something different. You're never going to replicate that 2.5% mortgage is probably more valuable than real estate it encumbers.
Yes.
So, but what are you going to do with the money? Why would you do it? Just because you can get the money. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that the worst thing they ever did was sell something and got all that cash. Because then,
Right.
You hang out with them after because they're buying dinner and they're buying drinks and they got a nice boat to go on. But, it's all about putting that money to work. I kind of equate it to, if you're a farmer, if you eat all your corn, well, you're all done. You can't plant any more corn next year. So if you're a farmer, do you ever sell your farmland?
Right. That's true.
Never
That's a
sell
good
your farm until it just becomes unsustainable, or your life says it's time to sell the farmland and you don't have a kid or somebody that'll take it over. So, I mean, that's a personal decision. The market is flooded right now with properties, primarily from unrealistic sellers who talk weak agents into putting them at 115, 120% of market. Our market, if you look at the closed sales, there's a market there that it clearly works. And then you've got, like Bonita at one point recently, there was a $300,000 difference between the active listing, the average active listing, and the average sold listing.
And land. What's the prediction with land?
Land's doing good, actually. Land's not bad. New construction's the place to be because you don't have insurance problems. They're built to the current built to current codes. You're at floodplain +1. You know what I mean? The last hurricane, the new codes, they came through great. It's the older homes that had problems. So still doing good. The Cape's getting pretty built out. Lehigh's rocking.
It is.
Communities and land. Lehigh's rocking. I realized one of the primary reasons everybody moving from the chain of people was they sold their house in Weston, and then they would go to Golden Gate Estates because they could still get back across the alley to get good food and go to parties on the weekend. But they now they can't even afford Golden Gate Estates because, some of that, their stuff's selling, for big money in Golden Gate Estates right now. So then they go buy 2 lots side by side and, build their little thing in Lehigh, particularly out towards where Daniels comes in. Because it's pretty easy access. And people can't afford to live in Naples, but they can't afford to live in Lehigh, and that's why Lehigh is doing so well. But, I call it the Weston effect. Is there anybody left in Weston? They've all moved.
Only the people coming from South America. And they are coming from South America. I mean, they continue to come. So, it's
That's something I learned from you. They're big on dollarizing their investments.
Yes, they're looking to dollarize their investments, open up, a future for their next generations. That generational wealth is really the mindset. It's the generational wealth. It's okay, I've got a lot of money in South America, but that's going to do my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren no good. So let's build generational wealth outside of South America, and that is the reality. My parents didn't do it to build generational wealth, but they knew that America was the land of opportunity, and they wanted me to have an opportunity. I'm glad they did, because otherwise I'd be in Colombia. You wouldn't even know me. Wow, this has been an amazing conversation, Jeff. I am so humbled and honored and happy that you joined us. I'm happy that you and John got to meet each other as well. Any closing words for everyone that's going to watch this now and on replay?
It doesn't matter what the market does. It matters what you do. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. There's always somebody making money. Be that person. And the beauty is, if you're a realtor, the MLS is there. You can see who's selling. You can figure out who their sellers were, who their buyers were. It's one of the coolest things. There's no such thing as insider trading in real estate. And you have a ton of information in front of you with the MLS, which is where I get all of my data, is our MLS. So use that thing that you pay for besides putting listings in.
Exactly. And become your best customer. Don't be scared, right? Become your best customer.
Do your own business. Make some money. Quit.
Yes.
Quit doing deals for pennies.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jeff. You have an amazing day. Thank you, John. This has been Agents in the Trenches, everyone. And it's been a power almost hour of knowledge and information.
Cool. Enjoyed it.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.